name is Big Sir, aka Deontay. I wanted to give you a word from the Lord, man, that He blessed me with, and I just hope it blesses your day as well. Coming from Romans 8, starting at verse 22, it says, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in pains of childbirth, right up to this present time. Not only so, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies." God told me, He said, "Deontay, I want you to talk about daddy wounds." And you might say, what does that verse have to do with daddy wounds? See, God said, your understanding of what that is, my creation really doesn't understand what I've done. I said, please explain. I got about a 45-minute commute to work, so me and God get a lot of time just to go back and forth, and a lot of ideas pop in my head, and I just speaking and praying and listening to worship music, and so this is what came to me. And He said that the world calls it a daddy wound. He says, but in fact, no earthly father created that. I said, wow, God, what are you talking about? He said, I put in my creation something that would always keep them longing for me. He says, now you guys call it a daddy wound simply because you've placed godly expectations on an earthly father. He said, you see, not to relieve your father of the role and duty of his household and what he should have done in your life. He says, but Deontay, your father, the most important thing that he could have ever done for you was point you to me. Any father. For me, my father passed when I was a baby, so I really didn't know him. Your father may have went to prison. Your father may have divorced from the family and left. Your father may have been in your life the entire time, and for some reason you still feel like you have daddy wounds. And God says it's because you've placed godly expectations on an earthly father. And you see, the father is supposed to tell the child, the parents should disciple the child and tell the child, listen, I love you to death, but I can never love you like Christ will. I can never love you like Christ will. I love you enough to die for you. But if I die for you, you live another day. But if you have a relationship with Christ, you live for eternity. There's no comparison. So though I love you and though I vow to do right by you, my child, I will not be perfect. I will fail, and though I will always try to lead you to Christ, I will not always lead you the right way. And so I ask you to forgive me when I fail, but understand those God-sized expectations that you have in you for me don't belong to me. In fact, God has placed something in you, His creation, to draw you near to Him. See, and God says, my people, they keep trying to fill this void that I put in them with money, with sex, with entertainment, with a job title, with people. He says, but it doesn't matter what they put there. If it's not me, then they will never be at peace. So I said, God, why? Why would you do that? He said, Deontay, because I love you. He said, Deontay, I knew your father would die. I knew he wouldn't be there to raise you. I knew he wouldn't be there to point you to me. I knew so many fathers would abandon their households. I knew so many fathers would neglect to tell their children about me. I knew that. He said, and because I knew that, I put something in my creation that would draw them near to me, even if the father didn't. He said, because I loved you. Because I loved you, I did it. God is telling me to tell somebody that's watching this, forgive your dad. He says, though he may have abandoned you, mistreated you, done whatever to you that made you feel a certain type of way, he said those expectations of perfection that you placed on your father weren't meant for him. That void that you feel he will never feel for you. He says that void that I placed in my creation is calling out, Abba, Father. And until you give it to your Father in heaven, you will never be at peace. We can see it as John the Baptist is walking with his disciples. And Jesus comes and his disciples, John the Baptist's disciples, leave John and go to Jesus. At a time where that would have been viewed very disrespectful for one rabbi's disciples to go to another. But that was probably the most enlightening time of John's life. To see that because he had been telling them about the coming Messiah and telling them who they should be following, that when the Messiah came, his disciples went right to him. And that's how it should be for every believer. As we disciple, as we bring up our youth, or those around us, our brothers and sisters of faith, should always be pointing people back to Jesus. So God is saying, forgive your dads, forgive your parents. They will never feel that void. So the point of you walking around with bitterness and hatred towards them, you will never be at peace. God said, I will never drop the ball. I will never let you down. I will always be there. But I am the only one that could do that. I am the only one that can promise you that. Man, I hope that frees somebody, because it sure freed me. I walked around with what I considered to be daddy wounds for 22 years. I was walking down at Kids Across America getting ready to preach, and it was around Father's Day, and God spoke to me in a unique way. He said, Deontay, why do you long for your biological father like that? He said, don't you know I created him? That's all it took for me. So I just sat down and thought about the fact that I was longing for the creation over the creator. And so many of us are doing that in different areas. God created everything. And we have access to it. But if you overindulge in it, then it becomes an idol. And you're neglecting and you're pulling away attention from God that he wants, that he desires. So I won't keep you no longer, man. I pray that touches somebody. I love you guys, man. I really pray that word was meant for a person, maybe multiple people, really to just free themselves of anger, of bitterness. God is saying forgive and accept him as your heavenly Father. Y'all be blessed.